Okay, so I'm going to talk to you today about one of my absolute favourite things, which is Lego Serious Play. And I'm going to talk you through the method of Lego Serious Play, so the actual process, the different applications where you can use it, the typical applications and method, and also some of the examples that I've used before so that you can get a real feel of what it's actually like when you're running an LSP session. So at this point, I was going to tell you why I'm so passionate about it, and then I remembered that a while ago last year, I was asked by the Association of Master Trainers, could I put together a little video with a model explaining why I was passionate about it and how LSP had changed my life. So let me show you that now. So here's how Lego Serious Play has changed my life. It has made me a better and more impactful trainer. So here you can see everybody leaning in, all wonderfully different, feeling safe to contribute and tell their stories, having these new insights. They're flourishing, they're listening to each other, and they're having a really amazing learning experience. Happy birthday, Lego Serious Play. So there's a nice little example. Let's get into it then. What is Lego Serious Play? Well, it is an extraordinarily powerful facilitation method. It's a great communication, problem solving tool, and you really can use it to explore any challenges or problems or questions on a team. It's really, really versatile. And it draws on extensive research from organisational development, psychology, learning, and the kind of science of it is that using our hands to build actually helps our brain put together thoughts. So our hands are connected to about 70 to 80% of our brain cells. So when we're actually using them to answer a question or build, we're enhancing our working memory. And this has this amazing effect where it uncovers things that perhaps we didn't know were there. And it helps surface things in the team which can be really quite insightful. And so these models that we build, the ideas that we express tend to be in greater detail and also more easily remembered and understood than if we were just using our natural language. And so this works really well, particularly when there's not a really obvious answer to something, because you can spend that time together really distilling your thoughts, which is fabulous. And so when you combine that science stuff with the powers of collective intelligence on a team, you get these wonderful results. One of the other things which is really great about Lego Serious Play is it helps us collaborate better. And one of the reasons it does that is it really keeps the energy high in a room. So in normal training, by the end of a day, people are often very tired, exhausted, not taking much more in. But when you run Lego Serious Play workshops, people tend to just want more and more of it. They start to build and they want to do even more. And because everybody brings their own ideas to the table, it helps us collaborate more effectively. And it's extremely levelling and inclusive. So, in normal meetings, 20% of the folks there are speaking for 80% of the time and consuming all of that space. Even if you're working really hard to facilitate a workshop to make sure everybody's heard, you still get very dominant voices. Whereas with Lego Serious Play, it's completely levelling. Everybody contributes 100%. Everybody's ideas are heard. When people share their models, they're really expressive and people listen and remember what's said. And so I really believe that this technique helps people contribute to their fullest, which is what I just love about it. And so the technique itself also creates just a really safe environment. When you're explaining your models and sharing your stories, because you can only talk about the model, it means that you overcome sort of egos, politics, you know, he said, she said. It's all about the model, which is really, really refreshing. And also, because when you build in silence, it gives everybody time to think, which is incredibly important, particularly for those of us that are more deliberative and need to sort of make sense of our thoughts and then, you know, express them very carefully. And so it carves out this time for thinking, which brings out these really magical results. So let me talk to you now about the process of Lego Serious Play. And I guess I'm going to start with the kit. So the kit's fabulous. There's proper Lego Serious Play kit. You can get it from Lego website if you search for Lego Serious Play, and you will find these different packs. Give me just one moment. I'm just going to get some to show you. Okay, so some of the kit. This is the main kind of Lego Serious Play kit that you use for the big workshops. Everybody starts with one of those. Everybody starts with the same bricks, which is really important. You also get extensions which you can use for some of the more immersive practices, which I'll show you later. There's a landscape kit and there's a connections kit, which are for some of the organisational level applications, which I'll show you later. If you're running a small workshop though, or using Lego as part of something else, like doing a training session, these are really handy. So these are the Explorer packs, which you get in a box of 100 from Lego, and anything kind of an hour and a half or so this is perfectly useful for. I must have given out 300 or 400 of these. I'm on my fourth box of 100. So I make up custom kits. You can imagine, after years of being a Lego Serious Play facilitator, how much Lego I might have acquired. And so you don't want to keep buying new stuff. The important thing is that there's enough metaphor in your Lego and that you've got enough bricks to perform the things that you want to do, and enough variety, as long as they're all the same. And that's like the bane of my life, is sorting Lego. So you always come back with this Lego soup, and then you have to resort it down to the individual bricks. It's quite therapeutic, I guess, for the first few hours, and then gets kind of old. Okay, so let's talk now about the method. How does this actually work? Well, there's 4 steps in the method of Lego Serious Play. The first is that we pose a question. The question is sort of sufficiently vague that you can't answer it easily. After that, you build the model in silence. So most builds are about 8 to 10 minutes long. Then everybody shares their model individually with the group, and the group listens actively. When the individual is sharing their model, you can only talk about what's in the model. So you point to the model and talk about how the model represents the answer to the question. And then finally, you will just take some reflections on the activity that you just did and see what you noticed. So when we run a Lego Serious Play workshop, we tend to start with this warm-up activity so that everybody feels a bit comfortable and knows what they're doing, called Build a Tower. And so you typically take your Explorer pack or your other pack, and you give some constraints around what the tower should be like, and you give everybody 2 or 3 minutes, and they build their tower and then share their tower with the group. Now, I ran an online session of Lego Serious Play a few months ago, and I've got some videos of this. This is where we're doing it over Zoom, so I thought I'd show you so that you can get an idea of what that's like. So the first thing that I'd like you to do, and you may have seen this on the video that I did, is build a tower. Okay, I'd like you to build a tower that starts with this brick, this 4x6 black brick, includes only green and yellow bricks. Okay. So if you think this is green, it's green. Whatever you believe is true. And those are the rules. Build a tower only with yellow and green bricks, and at the top I'd like to see this one. Okay? And I'm literally going to give you a couple of minutes to do it. So off we go. Okay, cool. So everybody built some kind of tower? Yeah? So we've just done the first 2 stages of Lego Serious Play. The first stage is some kind of challenge or question. And when we get into the questions, you'll see how they're deliberately a little bit vague. This is the most clear one, really, build a tower, that you ever see or hear. The second phase is the construction phase, which is what we just did. We'll get a bit longer when we're building our next model. And then the third phase is to share your model and tell a story. So I'll illustrate that by going first. So here's my model. You can see it. I might just pin me actually. Let me see if I can pin me. Pin. Yeah, okay. So here's my model. I didn't really have a plan. As I started building it, I thought, oh, I quite like it to be symmetrical. So I just found myself creating this sort of bit of solid structure at the bottom. And then I thought it looked a little bit like a face, like a Fraggle with ears. So I kind of went with that. I'm quite happy with it. Okay, so that's my model. Let me unpin me. Okay, so who would like to share? Let's have a volunteer. Who would like to share their tower? Go for it, Shelley. I'm going to pin you.
So, this is mine. It's not that much different from yours. And I thought it started to look like a person also with these arms sticking out. Fairly symmetrical, except for I wasn't able to put the little thing on top. It's off a little bit, so that's my little bit off kilter there.
Yeah, and how did you find it? What did you want that to be central? Was that a frustrating part when you had to put it to one side?
Well, it was just like, I don't know. I just thought it was gonna be symmetrical, and so then I just thought I have to. I guess it doesn't work that way. It doesn't stick on, so I'll have to stick it to the side.
So ours are quite similar. And did it just emerge, or did you have an idea of how it would be from when you began?
It just emerged. I think I just started automatically making it alternating yellow and green, a bit going up. Lovely. But I didn't really put. It was just a natural thing. I didn't put thought into it beforehand.
Lovely, thank you, Shelley. Let me try and remove this pin. It doesn't work very often. Okay. Right. So who else would like to share? Go for it. Go for it, Jeff.
All right, so here's mine. You can see it okay?
Yeah, I'm just gonna pin you. Yeah, hold it the same distance as your head because the background's blurry.
Okay, like this?
A bit closer to your head. Yeah, you might have to turn your background blurring off because we won't see it so well.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, so I started with a strong base, and then built upon that different colors alternating. It's kind of like the way I like to look at things. I like to understand the overall thing first of all, and then build upon that. I alternated the colors because I like to typically go through several iterations and look at things different aspects until you get to the top and it starts to form. I've got the yellow at the top, so things are starting to form out a little bit better. And then you have the one that you asked us to put on top, and I put a person on the top of that. As you can see the face there. Because I think everything's got to be focused around people, and I like working with people and looking at what we're solving from a people perspective.
And you were okay breaking the rules to get the person's head on top?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. I like that. Thank you, Jeff. Did you use up all the bricks, or did you?
No, I had a few.
Had a few left. Yeah. Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Yes.
Who'd like to go next? So yeah, Ian or Damien.
I can go next if you want.
Cool.
Okay, this is it. And I don't know if you can see it correctly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it started with me borrowing that idea from Andra. So doing that with the giraffe on pudding base, and I was like, okay, let's do that first to get high, and then build something. So everything had to be reversed. All the bricks are reversed from there.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
cool.
I was just thinking, how can I make it fun? So trying to put some bricks in just a one pin, and then I realized that I could rotate them, so it's all kind of rotated. And then put ornaments there and try to find something nice to do and to add up some design to it, like this piece or those flags there. It came up like organically through the process.
And so so it sounds like you're actually kind of discovering as you went along with the bricks there, sort of testing things out and seeing what would work.
Yeah, exactly. Because I started with those bricks aligned, like so, just aligned with this, and then started to realize that I could rotate those and see if I could do a spiral or something. So yeah, I tried to just go with the flow and try to go with trial and error without too much planning first.
Cool. I love that. Thank you. Ian, how did you get on?
Okay, so I just tried to make it as tall as I could. So I put these on, just the other way around,
Sideways, yeah.
and just kind of spike at the bottom. And that was it really. I've missed them. There's one of the greens I missed, which I would have put on if I'd noticed it.
So you would have liked to use all the bricks.
Just to make it even higher. That was my goal, was to get it as high as I could.
And this is interesting, the Lego on its side, isn't it? People are often surprised when they realise you can do that. And it's actually intentionally designed like that. I don't think you're allowed to use that as a Lego master, in those competitions. I think it's disallowed, but it's very well known about. It's allowed in Lego Serious Play. Anything's allowed, right? Okay, so that was like the first just skills building, really, having a go at using the bricks. Any reflections on that?
It's interesting to see just how we all did something different with, basically the very few same amount of bricks and so on, and the reasons why.
Yeah, and it continues to amaze me how differently people approach it. It's fascinating. And you'll notice that when we did the storytelling part, which is the third part, you're only allowed to talk about the model, right? So this is easy when you're talking about a tower because there's no other stuff going on, right? It's just a tower. When you're using this to solve problems and align teams and do all sorts of cool stuff like that, it's super important that you only talk about the model. So that's a way of removing any politics, remember when you said, or, that thing on that day. You can only talk about it if it's in the model. So if it's not in the model, as a facilitator, you encourage the person to point and talk about their model, which is a really nice aspect of it. That third part is in silence, because part of the technique is helping those thoughts emerge. Often when you start to build, you're a bit uncertain at the beginning as to what you're going to do, which is really normal. And at some point your brain just goes, oh, I'm going to go along with this. And before you know it, something is emerging. Then the fourth part, the fourth stage of Lego Serious Plays, what we're doing now is just reflecting. So in this reflection, it's quite simple, isn't it? We all had different models, represents the diversity and things like that. But when you're doing more complex things with the bricks, the reflections become a bit more in depth. So let's go into a bit more detail about the techniques. And so I'm going to cover 4 techniques here. There are some more, but these are kind of the key ones. These will counter for 90% of what you're doing with Lego Serious Play. So we're going to look at individual models, shared models, landscapes, and connections and systems. So if we start with the individual models, here's one. And these are really the foundation of Lego Serious Play. So it always starts with an individual model. So it doesn't mean the model is about yourself. You're building the model as an answer to a question, and everyone's building it in parallel, bringing everybody's insights into the activity. And so I'll take you through some examples of this a bit later. Shared models are then where it gets really interesting. So LSP is based on the belief that everyone in the group has valuable insights. And when you bring everybody's insights to the table, the final outcome is more than the sum of its parts. So you get this amazing alignment. So the purpose of building a shared model is to consolidate those individual models together into a shared model which tells the story, including everybody's concepts. So it has to encompass the essential meaning from all the individual models. It needs to be endorsed by all the participants, and it needs to include all of the elements that were brought in by the group. So you end up with this sort of deep commitment to the shared answer. And so how do you actually do that? So the way that you work that is you start with the individual models. And so I don't know, you might have built an individual model that says, what does psychological safety mean to you? And so you build your model. And then an important part of moving towards a shared model is giving the model a name, which helps the individual who's built it sort of distill their thoughts even further and think about the really important concept in their model. So they might then say, okay, I'm calling mine trust. And so when you're building the shared model, you want to ensure that those key concepts are retained in the shared model. And so you might take a flag and ask the individual to say, put a little red flag or a red brick on the part of the model that's the most important to you, that represents your concept that you don't want to let go of. And then they combine their models into a new model. So it might be a model that builds up, it might be a model that builds sideways, you might use one of the most comprehensive storytelling models as a base and add extensions to it. But the key thing is that every team member needs to be happy with the model, that's the final result, and that their elements are fully included. And the team members will negotiate until you come to a shared model that everybody's happy with. And the narrative of the whole model is gonna tell the story of everybody's concepts. So for example, if a model included a concept of flourishing, and somebody was telling the story and they'd use the word grow, I might want to correct them and say, no, I want you to use the word flourish because that's part of my concept. So this is really fabulous, the shared models. It's so useful for aligning to values and to perceptions of ways of working, all sorts of things. It's really useful. So then we talk about landscape models. So creating a landscape is a technique for creating meaning among a collection of models, but instead of building them together, you're using the physical space, and the placing of the models creates new meaning. So the position of them and how they're positioned relative to each other is the new meaning. So this could be really useful for seeing the big picture, creating an overview without losing any details. You can group and categorize models into bigger chunks of meaning. You can look for patterns and threads, see how participant stories relate to each other. And sometimes you can build shared models and landscape models. So you can see in this image, it's perhaps difficult to see, in the middle there's a shared model which might look like this might have been the future. And then around the model are other concepts that are positioned in relation to it. So then there's connections and systems, and these can be used in a number of ways. The simplest way is where you make connections based on personal choice or intention. So you might connect your model to somebody else's where you agree or share values. But you might have models that represent identity, and a connection might represent who you're most strongly aligned to. You might tell a story about the nature of the connection and relationships by using different types of connecting material that might represent the fragility or solidness of a connection or a relationship. Or you might use the connections to represent the flow of information. And so this helps us notice the complexity of systems. It helps us see things that you would otherwise, not see, and see how multiple components are connected. You can see how the system reacts to change. So you might have connected a concept of trust to other key concepts, and you might be able to move your model that represents trust and see how other things fall apart. This leads us into some of the deeper techniques like emergence, where you can start to imagine events and play them out using the model to see what might happen in certain situations and what might happen to the system. Okay, so that was a bit about the different techniques. Next, I'm going to talk to you about the application. So these are the different modes of use. So we've got 4: Lego Serious Play for the individual, LSP for the team, LSP for the enterprise, and then I guess my favourite, which is Freestyle. So LSP for the individual, this has the feel of sort of personal development and coaching. And so these can be about self-awareness, building resilience, uncovering your core identity. So a typical application might be something like this. So this is called personal identity in Lego. And so you might start by saying, build a model that represents who you are, what and why you are, your identity. Who do you really sense you are? What are your values and competencies, and what really matters to you? And so you can imagine doing that. You can really gives you time to think about your values and personality. And so you might extend that into who are you at your very best, using up all of your potential. And that might help you think about opportunities for development. So that's just one example. So then we have LSP for the team. It's called Real-Time Strategy for the Team. And this application is designed to unlock the full potential of any team. So in LSP for the team, this is where the shared models become really, really useful. So you can gain more clarity in terms of team members knowing about themselves and each other, but how the group behaves as a team and how to best serve the team. And this helps harness the collective intelligence and potential of the team so that they can align to purpose and bond together. So similarly to the individual model, which was looking at personal identity, you might look at team identity. And so you might look at a model that represents where you are now, your current team values, or you might have something like this, aspirational identity. So this is a bit more like, where are you heading as a team? Construct a clear and compelling model of how you would want to be seen as a team and the journey that you're on to get there. So what's your team like when it's functioning at its very best? When it's delivering awesome outcomes and using up all of its potential? I've actually got a video to show you here of one in action.
Okay, so here we have the model of our team and the journey that we are on as a team. I'm going to start with this car here, which signifies everybody, well, on the car, everybody is going in the same direction. we're all equally sharing our work and our rewards. With that car, we are going towards a common goal up here, which once we reach, we will rocket off into space and more amazing and awesome things. On the way, we are all as a team, a solid team who are all on an equal platform. And this team, one of the features of this team is that we protect each other and we look out for each other from any kind of obstacle or challenge that may arise in any kind of form. And this last part here is the cogs, which keep we are the cogs also that keep each other rolling, which when we are all together, we all roll smoothly and successfully. I missed anything? The balance, maybe I didn't touch on it too much. The team also supports each other and balances each other as a car or boat might do.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving on from the aspirational identity for the team, it can be really useful to look at barriers and enablers. So if you imagine you've built a model initially where you are now, you've built a model about your aspirational identity, where you want to get to, then you can start to move deeper, exploring the barriers that might prevent you from getting there. And here you can see the examples: broken communication, hierarchy, distractions. These are all barriers, and so the team can build these individual barriers and position them around the aspirational identity. And then they might have another round of building enablers. So how can we overcome those challenges? How can we get to our destination? And here you can see we've got models representing positivity, transparency, communication, well-being. So we've talked about LSP for the individual, LSP for the team. We also have LSP for the enterprise, and this is really looking at organizational culture and values, enterprise strategy and innovation. And so, this might be the sort of question. You might start with the core identity of the organization, build a model that represents who we are today, what defines us, what motivates us, what makes us unique. And then you might move on to the vision of where you want to go to. Here I've got another video. So this is a video of enterprise strategy, core identity.
What we've modelled here is a journey, a career progression from the wilderness over here, full of the people who are lost, all the way over here to the pinnacle of success, in whatever way people want to define success for themselves. Start here. These people don't even know they need help. They're in the wilderness, they're lost. They're all looking in different directions. They're confused, they're afraid, they need somebody to come and help them out. Somebody to offer them a light, a beacon that they can follow to try and achieve the things they want to from their own careers. There are obstacles on the way. Here we have the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper will take your money. Lots of the things we do need budget. That's a challenge that we want to engage with. Then we have the swamp of adversity. We do everything we can to help you through that swamp. We've built this bridge here to help you across it. Some people make their own way. We've got these brave, intrepid souls trying to make their way up to the mountains using a ladder. Over here, we have the stepping stones that we've created to help people find their way through that swamp. A couple of brave souls have made their way across the swamp and are now trying to scale the walls to get in the hard way, because they haven't realized that we have a door through which you can see all of the amazing things that take place on our virtual and physical communities. Now, even when you've made it this far, be wary of going through the wrong door. The wrong door looks attractive because the wrong door has a beacon of enlightenment and a massive pile of money. But the people who've been through that door, they end up here in the graveyard of failed ambition.
And so after that model of the organizational identity, that same team then built the enterprise vision and strategy, and that took a whole day. So then they went on to build a model representing the vision of the organization, what the organization can become, what does success look like, how do you know when you're there, And this is super powerful, you know, running this with senior executives, taking 1 or 2 whole days to really pool thoughts and ideas and come up with this creative thinking. And what's lovely about this is that if you video this like we did for the previous session, it could be really nice to share that in a company all hands, because the storytelling is so powerful. Okay, so finally, freestyle. And this is where I tend to use most of my Lego Serious Play. So I do run whole day workshops, but a lot of the time I just sort of slip it in to what I'm already doing, which is training, workshops, coaching, facilitation, that kind of thing. And it really can be used for anything. So here's from a strategy day that I was running. We were looking at customer profiling, looking at some strategy stuff. And so we took a break from the discussions we were having, and everybody built a model that represented their ideal customer profile, which generated some really great discussion. I quite often use it for a retrospective. It changes it slightly in that you get more thoughtful contributions. So, you know, somehow in a retrospective it can feel like everyone's trying to generate as many suggestions as they can, and sometimes the quality of that input can go down a bit. So when you do it with Lego, you get quite thoughtful responses. Particularly useful actually if you've got sticky subjects, something that's a bit difficult to discuss, because using the Lego can make it a safer space and less political when you're putting forward your ideas. And so I use it quite a lot in training. So here's a picture of agile pitfalls. So one of the things at the beginning of a training session that I sometimes do is ask everybody individually to build a model of something that represents some sort of painful pitfall or problem that they're having in their team to do with agile, or to do with their product development or their way of working. And so it's a great connections activity. Everybody talks about their model and their challenges, and then they build them together into a shared model, which represents, you know, the kind of shared challenges that the team are facing. And then as we go through the 3 days of training, we might point to the model and talk about different parts of the challenges that we might have overcome if we apply some of the training activities that we've learned. And also when we get to the end of the training, we might build a new model that represents where we're moving towards, what we want to take away from the session. I like to customize my training Lego materials. So I was recently working for a client in the beauty industry, and all of their branding is pink. And so as part of the agile training that I was doing for them, everybody had these little pink kits of Lego, which was helping us with the reflections part of the training to sort of distill the key takeaways. And online, so I ran quite a lot of Lego workshops during lockdown, and still send Lego packs out all over the world. You obviously can't do the physical shared models with doing it online, doing it at your desk, but you're able to take pictures of the models, you know, hold them up to the screen, and then put them into a tool like Miro to talk about them. You can even, in an activity I ran recently, you can even position them to tell a narrative, so a bit like the landscape model, so that you can tell a story using everybody's combined models. So hopefully that's given you a good overview. We talked about the method, which is pose a question, build, share, reflect. We talked about the different techniques, so individual models, shared models, landscapes, connections and systems. And then we talked about the different applications of Lego Serious Play. So for the individual, in terms of development and coaching; for the team, so anything where you need to align or explore team challenges; for the enterprise, which is really good for strategy and visioning; and then how you can use it in all sorts of different situations, which is just really good for reflecting and synthesizing thoughts, but also keeping the engagement high in the sessions that you're running. So thanks very much for watching, listening. Please follow me, subscribe to my channel, and if you've got any questions or want to know anything more about LSP, if you want me to come into your team and run a workshop, then please contact me. Thank you. Bye bye.